this is Shawn Dostie. I'm the charity ambassador. We are America's fundraiser. I am here today. I'm excited to be here today with Bobby D. I've known Bobby D forever, it seems. I'm not sure exactly where we met. It might have been Louisville or Addison. At that time, I never put him in the realm of benefit auctions, although he's been doing it for, I think, about 15, 20 years.
Yep.
I had seen him as a world champion automobile auctioneer, but now he is solidly in the benefit auction corner. I mean, he is one of the few, if not one of the only auctioneers in the United States that actually is married to another auctioneer that is a benefit auction specialist. And his mother-in-law was one of the pioneers.
Yep.
He also has a podcast called Heart of the Gala. We'll get to talk about that here in a little bit. I was fascinated to hear the stories from his mother-in-law when they did that bit, and I listened to, I think, all but one of
Nice.
your podcasts. I have the freedom to do that since I'm up all night. But anyhow, enough about me. Bobby, tell me about yourself and what brought you to this point where we are today.
Well, you kind of filled everybody in really well. Been in the auction industry for 20, 25 plus years. Not only did I marry an auctioneer whose mom was an auctioneer, my mom is an auctioneer, my dad's an auctioneer, my two brothers are auctioneers. So we're surrounded by auctioneers.
Did not know that.
Yes, and Thanksgiving is very crazy around our parts. So it's hard to get a word in edgewise sometimes. So, but yeah, pretty much eat, sleep, breathe, fundraising auctions. Been on a very interesting run here the last couple weeks. Been coast to coast twice already. Been in New York City for a couple events. I'm actually on my way into New York City tonight for a meeting with a networking group that I'm going to be with, and then auction Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and then do it all again next week. So it's we're in the middle of the season, so I'm
This is unscripted, but you just said something that I find fascinating, especially given that typically the benefit galas are held on Saturdays, sometimes on Fridays. Could you go into that a little bit? You said you've got an event on Tuesday, Wednesday,
and Friday.
How do those come to be, and why is it why is it not a good idea?
Well, here in the Northeast, we have a very unique situation, and it's called New York City. And New York City, they have lots of venues, great venues. And because they have lots of great venues, their venue space is at a premium price on Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays. So they have nights that they need to fill up, and those weeknights are days that nonprofits are able to fill and get at a reduced price for them to have their gala. And then it's become a very accepted norm in which their donors are willing to come out on a weeknight. And many times these weeknight events are more after work events. They're not going to be full blown galas that are going to go, 11 o'clock, midnight, bands, party, all the kind of thing. It's very condensed programs where they might start at 6:30 and then be done by 9:30. Like everything's all in and all done. So it's great to see that, where nonprofits are now looking at other opportunities to really capture that attention of their donors. Because when you think about it, donors only have 52 Fridays, 52 Saturdays, and 52 Sundays in their year. And many times they go to multiple events or support multiple organizations. Many times they also have families, they have kids, they have vacations they need to take. They have all of those things. And we've been guiding our clients in other markets to help them to see that, to kind of see the light that it's okay to have a gala on not Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
Thank you for that. Like I said, when I first opened this up, I first noticed you as a world champion automobile auctioneer. I believe you worked for Barrett Jackson at one time.
I've kind of been through the circuit of all of the classic car auctions. Barrett Lake, who was it? Silver. I mean, gosh, the list goes on and on and on. And then I'd worked for all of the main wholesale auctions as well. Odessa, Mannheim, Insurance Auto Auctions, Copart when they were using auctioneers, and then some local ones as well. So I've kind of been through the ringer of all of them. And then in 2015 was very, very fortunate to have won the world championship in Las Vegas. My stepdad, who got me into the business, was present. My brother was my ringman. So it was a very, very special day to be able to capture that title. But it was also very bittersweet in many ways as well too, because once you get crowned this world champion, kind of visions upon yourself look kind of a bit different, and you're kind of known for something different as well. And that wasn't really a place where I loved auto auctions, and I still love them, but it wasn't really where my heart and my soul was at. It wasn't what got me up in the morning. It was definitely what got me up and paid the bills, and it was fun. It was a great place to allow me to develop my auction chant, to develop my auction psychology awareness, bidder awareness, seller awareness, different things like that, and be able to practice. So that was great. I mean, there's lots of auctioneers that are out there, but there's not many that can say that they have over 10,000 hours of microphone time. I'm well above that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what made you were this success, but you've kind of alluded that you weren't really happy, that wasn't your passion. What made you decide that nonprofits, that fundraising, that the glitz and glamours, the bow ties, the tuxedos, the on stage, the catering to people that weren't out to steal a car, that were out to be philanthropists? What made you decide that was Bobby D?
Well, there was two things. One morning I woke up and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the auto auction. And then I realized I was selling used cars to used car dealers. And I was like, okay, where am I in this? All right.
I was
Okay. I
one of
see.
those for 18 years.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a wholesale business. It's a business to business type of business. I mean, it's cutthroat. There's a lot of things that happen within that. And, I know used car dealers maybe don't have the best reputation. And it's sad that there's a few that have spoiled that. But anyways, I woke up, I'm like, you know what? There's got to be a bigger purpose for me in the world. And I had been always doing, fundraising auctions as an auctioneer, had always been, participating, whether it's the Boy Scouts or local churches or local private schools and smaller nonprofits. But I was able to work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation at one particular event. And we, our style of fundraising is we come in with a full team aspect. We do a lot of consultation and really have a lot of energy and excitement at the events. And at this particular Make-A-Wish event was the first time they'd ever really used a professional fundraising auctioneer. And it was great. There was so much energy. Our team was hooting and hollering, and people were, giving money left and right. And it was awesome. And at the end of it, I had the development director came up to me and like, Bobby, you and your team were absolutely amazing. I'm like, all right, yeah, that was a great time. They're like, because of you and your team, you helped us raise enough money to fund 14 more wishes than we ever have from this event. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, because of you, we were able to, to raise more wishes, help more kids, help more families. And then I started putting two and two together. And I was like, you mean I get to take what I'm really, really good at and what I have really, fun, doing, and I can impact the world. I can help people. And that's going to ripple out. That is the moment that I was like, okay, wait a minute, there's something here. And then as I, networked and, Facebook was really becoming emergent at that time. And there was other fundraising auctioneers that I was able to meet. And I met a lot that's what they did full time. And I'm like, that's a job. And I had some great mentors that were in that, and they said, yeah, Bobby, you can do this. You just got to do it. You just got to jump. You got to do it. You've got everything you need to do. And it was the fact that I was, still, I was still holding these auto auctions. I was still at the auto auctions a couple days a week, and that was the majority of my income. And then it was a major shift, one year towards all right, that's it. Going to jump. That's going to be over here. That's in the past. Now we're going to look towards the future, and we're going to make some amazing things happen. And then since 2018, I've been full-time fundraising auctioneer and consultant and strategist and auctioneer coach and all of those fun things.
Well, congratulations, and you've done well. So I'm pleased at all that. The talking about the nonprofits themselves, what type of issues have you seen that you said that Make-A-Wish, because of you, 14 more wishes? What was the difference besides the from a nonprofit organization's point of view? Because good ain't free and it's not cheap.
Right.
So there is the nonprofits out there saying, oh, I can get an auctioneer to donate their time, or I can pay scads of money. And is it worth it? I know I pay a lot for the venue, but is it worth it for a professional auctioneer? What can you, from your perspective, from coming from where you did the Boy Scouts, the small ones to the large, what can you shed? What kind of light can you shed on that?
So it's a common misconception in the nonprofit world that just because it says it's nonprofit doesn't mean it is not a business, and that everything a nonprofit should should be donated. Which, I mean, they call it the nonprofit myth. There's so many different YouTube videos and TED Talks and talking about that. And there's a trend that's starting to move from that. And for some reason, auctioneers have always been set in the minds of nonprofits that is something that you can get for free. And yes, it's true. You can get that for free. And there's lots of people that are out there that will do it for free because it's kind of fun. They might have saw it on the internet. They're like, heck, I could do that. Or we all, as professionals, make it look really easy. And then you have someone that's on the board that's like, you're paying them how much? Well, I can help you save that much and I'll just do it. But they have no idea of how much they're affecting that event. I had a conversation with someone last week about this, who was talking with us about becoming their fundraising auctioneers. And we started to look at their event, and they had never had a professional for like 20 years. And then they're at this point where they're like, they really need to raise more money. And I started having conversations, and we talked about timeline, and we talked about experience, and we talked about auction items, we talked about paddle raises, we talked about all types of different things like that. And at the end of the conversation, she just had this scared look in her eyes. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I'm just totaling up all the dollars that we left on the table in the last 20 years. And I'm like, oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That hurts. That's like, yes, it's millions of dollars because you tried to save a few $1,000s on the night of your event. Yes, you left millions of dollars on the table, but that stops now. Like we're able to fix that. We can go forward and that'll never happen again. And then from there, she kind of breathed a sigh of relief. She's like, okay, we're in good hands. There's going to be great stuff that's going to be happening now. And we're going to be doing this right for the first time ever. So it's a trend that I'm starting to see across the nation as I'm having conversations with nonprofits all over the place, is they are understanding the value of a professional fundraising auctioneer or MC or whatever you want to call it. And they're starting to make those investments within that. And there's some organizations that will make a deep investment because they need the best. And if that's the case, you know what? Hey, call me. I'll help you with it. I'd love to be a part of that and help to grow and guide or, be a part of that. But again, I only have 365 days in my life per year. But I'm really proud to be a part of a network of across the nation. There's fundraising auctioneers everywhere in every market that can help nonprofits that are watching this. And, I'm very, very happy to be able to make those connections with, might be in Chicago, you might be in Columbus, you might be in San Francisco, you might be in Orlando, wherever you are. There's somebody that can help you. And I love to be able to make that connection because it's like my ethos, like this new drive that I have is helping nonprofits do events better. And they all need to do them better because they can be better. And when they do better, they raise more money and make a bigger impact. When us as professionals do better, we're able to then apply that to the events, which then are better. And then the rings just kind of, go out of the pond. So I just want people to do things better, and they can. And life's way too short to just half-ass things.
For newer auctioneers or people that have an interest in getting into this industry, one might see people like you and like Janelle and like some of there's we all know a lot of the people out there.
Yeah.
Is I think I know the answer to this, but I want you to answer it. Is the industry saturated with benefit auctioneers? Is it not saturated? Is it even close? Is it a wide open field? Where is it as far as
All right.
nonprofits that hold large auction galas?
We're going to do a quick math here. Okay. There are 1.5 million. That's what, six zeros, five zeros, 1.5 million nonprofits in the United States. How many benefit auctioneer specialists are there?
I have no
200.
idea. Maybe 250.
Yeah, 200, 250. And that's just designees by the National Auctioneers Association. And there might be another 200, 300, 500, maybe even 1,000. Let's say there was 1,000 professional full-time fundraising auctioneers that are out there in the world. And there's 1.5 million nonprofits that are out there. Even if 10% of those nonprofits were hosting fundraising galas, now I know not every nonprofit does, many of them do, but even if just 10% of those were doing galas, that's 150,000 events that are out there across the nation. Okay, so there's 1,000 fundraising auctioneers and there's 150,000 events. I mean, that would mean that every auctioneer could do 150 events a year. Now, if you're doing 150 events a year, you are crushing it, but at the same time, you are burnt out. There is not enough energy in the world to be able to do that. I mean, that's like doing an event every 3 days. And it's just not sustainable. I mean, you could have a team that goes out there and does that. I've got a great team that's out, we have 3 events on Saturday night or on Friday night. So we're able to multiply that. But even still, I mean, there's a giant pool of nonprofits that need the help of professionals, and even those that are getting into this and have that passion and have that heart for serving and have that passion and that heart for having a great time and guiding nonprofits to do those events better. It's, as an industry, we are very, very small, like kind of just a little drop in the bucket compared to how many nonprofits that are out there in the world. One more example, in New York City, where I'm heading in tonight, there's 35,000 nonprofits just in that little island of Manhattan. Like 6 million people live on that island, and there's 35,000 nonprofits that are based there. There are like 6 fundraising auctioneers. And there's a bunch that fly in. But even still, if everybody worked every night of every day of every year, we would still not be serving near all of those nonprofits at all. So yes, there's plenty of help to be given.
So then there's the question, if an auctioneer wants to get their feet wet, it's not the easiest thing in the world to go in and just start picking up events. You can't just go in and make a phone call and say, hey, I want to charge you $5,000. I want to charge you $3,000. I want to charge you $500. I want to raise money for your event.
Right.
What is the best way, in your experience or in your estimation, for a new auctioneer to go out there and, now, I get it. Entrepreneurship is tough. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Right. Right.
So what is the best path in your thought processes for a guy to do it?
If someone was looking to fast track it and get to work right away, I would say find a mentor, find someone to work with, find someone in your market and approach them and say, I really want to be a fundraising auctioneer. I want to help nonprofits raise money. And, let's say, someone's in your market, Shawn, and they see you, they see this show, and they're like, you know what? Hey, I want to work with you. Let me, I want to be able to learn, and I want to be able to be a part of this. And I have people that approach me all the time, and I love helping them anytime, especially in the markets that I'm at, that they want to come and they want to learn. I'll bring them to an event so they can see what it's like. I'll put them in the ring so they can see what that's like. And then after that, then I'm able to have a conversation with them. Like, what did you think? And they're be like, oh, I love it. This is all I want to ever do. And it's like, okay, well, there's a couple different paths that you can take. Now, if they want to take the fast path, definitely identify those mentors, work with those mentors, help those mentors to be successful within their business. And then from that, you'll learn all the intricacies of the event, before event, after the event that are there. And then by partnering with that particular auctioneer, if that's something that they want to do, then there's a chance for everybody to grow. Now, there's a whole nother path where you could still be mentored by that auctioneer on a, degree, and kind of have a shared partnership if you're in the same market. But then there's still also, auctioneers from across the nation in which they can tap into and then have conversations with those auctioneers and then learn about the marketing process, learn about the consultation process, learn about the performance process and different things that are like that. And then also to be able to capture as much nonprofit fundraising information and best practices and have that knowledge and strategies built within that, and then understand where the events lie within the entire fundraising cycle. And if an individual is able to do that and come in with an open mind, come in with the student mindset, they, have an ability within 2 to 3 years to be able to start filling up their calendar and help nonprofits that are out there. Now, someone wakes up this morning and they say, I want to be a fundraising auctioneer. Yes, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a very niche industry in which people have to invest time and invest. It's just like anything. You have to put the reps in, you have to put the practice in, you have to be in those different environments and have those different experiences so you know how to react, because there's many hats that we wear as fundraising auctioneers. So that's my suggestion. And it's a lot quicker, and people see that they're like, oh, okay, all right. And I'm lucky that I've got 3 or 4 really, really great mentees that are now really taking the bull by the horns and really riding it and making it happen.
Wouldn't it really be neat if there was a conference and show just for benefit auctioneers?
Yeah, there kind of is. I mean, there's the summit that's going to be happening in Charleston this year. It's about 100 of us get together and talk about what's going on and kind of trends that we're seeing, and whatnot. So there's one opportunity that we're able to gather and meet. There's some other places in the world, but there's not a lot. I mean, it's a very lonely business that there's, here I'm talking to you, you're in Ohio and I'm here in New York, but there's not many auctioneers between us here. So
No?
we're kind of one in the only.
So one of the things that we as benefit auctioneers do is we have revenue enhancers.
Mm-hmm.
What's one of your favorites?
Ooh, one of my favorites. Well, there's a couple that I have. I mean, I love what they call the golden ticket, which is, steal one of the auction items, or the live auction items, or even silent auction items, whatever it is. It's an exclusive raffle, 1 out of 100. Sell them for $100, raise 10 grand. That's a great way to do it. In the paddle raise, we've been utilizing some incentivized giving opportunities, in which everybody that gives it X level could win this thing, whatever it is. And that's been some fun things. We've been seeing a lot of good traction with what we call a paddle drop at the end of a paddle raise. Like, let's say it's a $100 level.
Hang on to that thought right now, because that was one of my questions. Was I saw that on there and I haven't heard of a paddle drop. So go on to something else, and I want that to have its own segment that I can break out.
Okay. So anyways, those are 3 that we're seeing and that we use every time, not every time, but many times that we're working with nonprofits and their events to find ways that we can draw more dollars and more engagement out of their donors. And there's many ways to do that. I mean, I did a whole episode of our podcast on the 2 type of donors that are at your event, the transactional donor and the philanthropic donor, and what each one is attracted to, which way each one wants to engage within the event, and then how to really give them what they want so you get what you want, which is dollars, time, talent, treasure, team, all those things.
Where did you learn that the 2 different types of donors? I'm curious because I heard another auctioneer clear across the country mention the transactional donor versus the philanthropic donor. Right. He used those exact terms, and I was just wondering where that was. That a Kathy Kingston thing? Was that a Janelle?
It's kind of a combination of everyone. I mean, there's not a huge body of knowledge or captured work in hard copy, like books and whatnot. There's only like 2 or 3 fundraising auction books that are actually out there. I was very fortunate to have Kathy Kingston as one of my direct mentors. She wrote the book A Higher Bid, which has got a lot of that in there. I think that term is mentioned in her book. Janelle talks a lot about it within her stuff that she's putting out, and in the nonprofit fundraising world, especially within development directors and fund development and events, they it's a very common phrase that's there. There's transactional donors and then there's philanthropic donors, where I mean smart development directors can see that at an event. They're like auctions are a transaction. This is like somebody's giving money to get something in return, and that's a pure transaction versus a a relationship, or someone that's just giving to give for goodness sake. That's that's pure philanthropy that's within that. So it's looking at who you have, and then how you can evolve what I call the culture of philanthropy within your donor pool, and the culture of philanthropy that you base within your gala as well, and kind of like what your track record has been and where do you want to take it, and then what are the steps to evolve it to where that you want to go in combination with your fundraising strategy. And I could geek out on this for hours, and I do geek out on this for hours.
But we don't have hours because
we don't. We have moments.
I do fund and needs, paddle raise, special appeal, cash appeal. There's got 1,000 different names, but you mentioned something called the paddle drop.
Yes.
Explain what the paddle drop is.
So paddle drop is everybody has a paddle like this. Paddle here, look, paddle. And at the end of the paddle raise, we're usually at the lowest level. It's usually the $100 level, and there's 300 people in the room. Hey, friends, if we have everybody drop their paddle in for a $100 donation, then together we collectively could raise $30,000, which is big money. I mean, for some organizations, they have 300 people at their gala. I mean, they might raise 30 or 40,000 in the entire thing. So it really shows the kind of that exponential growth that can happen when you have lots of people that are raising their paddles and dropping their paddles. And if at the end of the paddle raise, we had 300 paddles that went up, it would take us, I mean, even if it was 300 seconds, that's 5 minutes. If it was 600 seconds, that's 10 minutes. If it was 900 seconds to do that, that's 15 minutes of just calling numbers out. And that is a lot. And it's an easy way for people to give, and an easy way for them to be involved with the fundraising, and just make a quick donation. Here's $100. There you go. Drop it in the bucket.
So that has to be last, because if they drop it in the bucket, they don't have a paddle anymore. So if you're doing your fund and need first, and then as dinner progresses, you're going to go into your live auction,
right?
And then you do your paddle drop at the very end.
We've done it that way, where fund and need, live auction, paddle drop at the end. That kind of becomes the cleanup, the last chance for everybody to give. Sometimes we'll incentivize individuals to, win something. Other times it's just, giving for goodness sake. Sometimes like we'll be creating what we call a teacher development fund, and all the dollars that we raise in the paddle drop are going to go to help fund our teachers and give them, workshops and whatever they need to be better teachers. And schools really love that. They're like, okay, awesome. Parents like, yeah, here, $100. Let's take care of the teachers. So it's, however you want to kind of encourage your donors to be able to give, and just make it again easy to just say, all right, here you go, here's $100. And then it's the power in numbers. A lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, it's just $100, it's not going to go very far. It's like, well, yeah, but if we have 300 people and we get $30,000 could help us to fund an entire program for a year, or it could build a new playground, or it could do this or this or this or this. And sometimes that light bulb goes off and people understand. They're like, oh, okay, I see. I mean, it's a live GoFundMe is what it really is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another question, and you got to tell me if I'm getting into trade secret area. Finding the right software. A lot of these nonprofits have no idea where to go to get software for a company, and consignment companies.
Right.
Where are the places to go to get the best trips that can have multiples and
all the things,
etc. But what are some of the good places?
The best places that I find are whomever your professional fundraising auctioneer is. talk to them, because they're going to have relationships with different vendors that have, that have worked with them. I have track records with my vendors for 10, 12, 15 years. And I've done, millions of dollars of, through consignment with, a couple particular groups. I've, worked with some technology groups again for 10 years, and they might have been 3 different names, but I know that the people that are behind it are doing good things. And as as an event consultant and strategist, a fundraising auctioneer is able to then help, really answer those questions and find out what the right fit is for you. So many times, like, you'll have, a giant event that has, mobile bidding, it has raffles, it's got the live auction and the paddle raise and the paddle drop, and it's got all of these different components that are in it. And you need a very robust software to be able to help with that. And then many times it could be just a paddle raise only event, in where you really just need to make sure that you have registration taken care of. People can pre-swipe their credit cards. They can attach their name, their person, their profile to the number. And then once they raise the paddle, they're in the system. And then the donation acceptance is very smooth. It's very easy. It's very quick, because that credit card's already pre-swept. But there's so many different technologies that are out there that can do all of these things. But again, you might only need just a butter knife versus the whole Swiss Army knife. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay. I know you've got to get moving. Here's I guess one final question is, if people are seeing this and they're like, I want Bobby D, I want Aaron, I want his group. How do they find you, and what other items are you involved in that I know you're out there on social media? How do we find you?
Okay, in my case, type in Bobby D auctioneer. I'm the only one that pops up, because there's only one of me. So I'm there. You'll find me. But we do have a couple different ways that you can work with this. Now, Shawn was talking about Erin. Erin is my business partner. She's also my life partner. She's my wife. She's my everything. And she is the female version of me. I mean, sometimes people think we're twins because we have the same haircut, which is totally weird. But anyways, it's all good. She has her own fundraising auction company that we work within on the East Coast, which is Star Benefit Auctions. You can Google that, look that up, or starauctions.com. If you're on the West Coast, I have my firm that's out there, which is calltoauction.com. Check that out there. And then we also have our combined niche, I guess you could say, consultancy firm, in which we're working with organizations that are looking to create paddle raise only events. And we're, I think, the only niche firm in the nation that is focusing on that. And that's Inspire Hearts, inspirehearts.com. And then, like so you mentioned before, we have our podcast, heartofthegala.com. We have a YouTube channel that's there, and you can find us on all the different podcast players, Spotify, iTunes, Google, all of those things, where we're having, conversations just like we're having, and diving really deep within all of it. And really just like you said, hey, I might be getting into some trade secrets. In our case, there's no trade secrets. We're giving it all. Like, you ask me any question, I'm going to give you the answer that I think it is, and really help you as best as I can. So if I can help, one nonprofit or 10 nonprofits or 1,000 nonprofits by them capturing some information and learning a little bit of that, and if it's the one thing they learn is to hire a professional fundraising auctioneer, then I've done my life's work. I've fulfilled my passion, because again, I'm helping you all do your events better. And that's all I want. I just want you to do your events better, raise more money, make a bigger impact.
I appreciate you. One of the reasons why I'm doing this, and I have no idea, this might become part of a YouTube channel. This might end up broken up in sections. It might be on TikTok. I was looking at it. The last one I did was an hour and a half. And I just looked on Zoom, and it said, or on YouTube, said I could upload it as a podcast. I never thought of myself as a podcaster, but
yeah,
why not?
Yep.
I think this is absolutely invaluable information.
It is.
And one thing that I learned a long time ago is, if you want to be successful, go where successful people are. Talk with successful people. Hang out with successful people. So I'm elevating my game to talk with people that are more successful, because I want to get back into it. I want to grow my business. I remember the very first time when I raised my prices to a nonprofit, and I didn't hear anything. It was crickets. And I contacted them later, and they said that one of the parishioners was an auctioneer that donated their time. Now, what I found amazing is I'd done this event for like 3 years, and I'd never met this auctioneer. And I've never been in a crowd where if there's another auctioneer that they don't come up and say, "Hey, look at me."
Yep. I had one on Saturday night.
But the next year they were back, and they're like, we're not doing this again without you. And so that was so gratifying. And I want that. I want to do that 30, 40, 50 times a year.
Yeah.
So that is why I have invited you. Not to mention I like renewing old acquaintances, and I haven't been able to go to the conventions or the conference and shows because I've got a fiance over in the Philippines, and well, one's got to have their priorities.
Yep.
So I know it's time for you to go. I want to thank you, folks. There you are, auction gold right there, Bobby D. If you need a benefit auctioneer, you can call me, you can call him. And there's hundreds across the nation. And hopefully we'll be able to do more of these in our own separate entities and things like that, and maybe do some collaborations and help this world help their causes.
Right. And again, going back to that big number, that 1.5 million nonprofits that are out there. And if us as fundraising auctioneers can just help our clients raise 1% more money of that 1.5 million, that's a lot of money that is going to be able to, be able to make a giant impact in this big lake of life that we have. So I just want everybody to get better. And Shawn, even if there's, potential or auctioneers that are considering becoming fundraising auctioneers, whether you already are an auctioneer or you're someone that wants to be an auctioneer or be a fundraising ambassador or host or, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that's what this platform I think can be, as well as for people to then reach out to individuals like you, like me, to help them get on a track instead of where I was, 15 years ago, like, I don't even know where to turn. And then was lucky that I found some great mentors and were able to help.
Webinar teaching.
That could be happening very soon.
Hey, that sounds like an idea. Thanks again. It was great meeting up with you, and we will talk to you again.
All right. Thanks, Shawn. It's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too.